All right, I promise you, this is the last time I'm talking about David Hogg. Don't worry, rest assured, this is the last time. Bear with me. Look, folks, I really do want to get away from talking about this kid, David Hogg. I see his name everywhere, on different websites, on CNN, on MSNBC. It's everywhere. I'm sick of talking about him. I'm sure you're sick of hearing about him. This is the last time, I promise you. After this, no more David Hogg. But I saw an article on Yahoo News that really got me thinking, and it made me have an epiphany. And I'll get to that epiphany in just a moment. But first, the headline from Yahoo News. Florida school shooting survivor David Hogg urges others to use white privilege to ensure gun violence in black community is heard. So now he's somehow bringing white privilege into this. Kind of a strange argument. Let me read. Student survivors of the shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School have said, you know what, before I get going here, you have David Hogg and a number of other students who survived this shooting now speaking out, telling us the best course of action, telling us what kind of legislation we need to pass, telling us how to prevent or at least minimize the number of mass shootings that occur in this country. My question is this: just because you survive a mass shooting, does that make you some kind of authority figure? Why does that give you a boost to your credibility? I'm just wondering. I mean, David Hogg is still a student. He's still a high school student, for God's sakes. But what, because he survived this mass shooting, we're all supposed to listen to him and get behind him? I don't think that's how it works. But anyway, let's get to his argument here. Says, during a live stream interview on Twitter with his classmates, activist David Hogg, a student in Parkland, Florida, said that there is a disparity in the way that the news media covers gun violence. Oh, a disparity, huh? Sounds unequal. And that he felt compelled to speak up about that using his platform. There is a lot of racial disparity in the way that this is covered, Mr. Hogg said of last month's shooting. If this happened in a place of lower socioeconomic status or a black community, no matter how well those people spoke, I don't think the media would cover it the same. So you mean to tell me that if a gunman walked into a high school in an area of lower socioeconomic status, a poorer area of the country, the media wouldn't be covering this? The media wouldn't be covering this? Are you kidding me? Based on what? Of course they would. Of course they would. Not just covering this story out of Parkland because, you know, it was a white student. I don't even know if the majority... Who cares about race, for God's sakes? I don't even know if they're mostly whites or mostly blacks at this high school in Florida. I don't really care. I don't think the media, frankly, really cares. The media's twisted, but I don't think they took race into account when reporting on this shooting in Florida. Stupid argument. Where was I here? Lost my... Oh, here we go. More from David Hogg. He said, and I think it's important that we point out that as Americans, and realize that, because we have to use our white privilege now to make sure that all of the voices, that all of the people that have died as a result of this and haven't been covered the same can be heard. It's sad but true. Use our white privilege to make sure that all the voices of the people that have died as a result of this and haven't been covered the same can be heard. First of all, I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know who he's talking about, what specific event he has in mind. I have no idea. But apparently there's some kind of racial problem here with how the media covers mass shootings. Provides no statistical evidence whatsoever. No facts to back it up. And this leads me to my point. You know, I read this article, I did some thinking, and I came to this conclusion. You know who David Hogg is at the end of the day? You know who he is? This kid is a product of indoctrination. I am now convinced this kid is a product of indoctrination. He's bringing up race. He's bringing up white privilege. He's talking about unfair and unjust treatment to some racial groups in America. This kid is a product of indoctrination, liberal indoctrination. You'll notice, I'm sure many of you have noticed this as well because you're smart people, that when David Hogg goes out there and starts talking about gun control, starts talking about the need for, gun reform and all the rest, he doesn't bring up any facts, doesn't throw out any statistics whatsoever, any credible statistics for that matter. Here again, no facts, no statistics, just everything coming from his noggin. That's why I say that he's a product of indoctrination. He's taking this emotional angle that the liberals take all the time. They appeal to emotion. They appeal to people's feelings. He's very good at doing that. But in terms of the facts, in terms of actually knowing what's going on, he's clueless. He's absolutely clueless. He's parroting what he's heard from most likely his professors. He's parroting what he's heard on the left-wing news stations and so on and so forth. He's a parrot. I mean, these aren't original thoughts. This isn't original thinking on his part. This is the typical left-wing, emotional, factless talking points that he's throwing out there. David Hogg is a product of indoctrination. That's what he is. And this just goes to show that we as conservatives, and I've talked about this so many times on my radio program, we have got to find different ways to fight back against this indoctrination. Because if we don't, there's going to be even more David Hoggs in the future. And I'm not sure, quite frankly, I could handle that.